We've seen some really great consumer account opening tools over the last day and a half. But what about business and complex accounts? For those of you that have ever engaged in this, it's a nightmare, right? I mean, you've got many different counterparties, you've got different forms that have to be completed, there's typically emails back and forth, and then suddenly you learn about a related party that you never knew about, and so now there's more back and forth again, and it can take weeks. Well, for folks in the room that this sounds familiar to, this is the demo for you. For anyone else that only deals with consumers, please, I'd advise you to spend the next 7 minutes closing your eyes and in a deep meditation. Okay, for the rest of you still with me, let's get started. So I'm Ryan, this is Joe, and we're at DocFox. DocFox helps to create streamlined and automated workflows for onboarding business accounts. We currently work with about 200 financial institutions. Banks typically use us to grow their book of business while creating great client experiences. Fintechs use us to create really streamlined and scalable experiences for more complex accounts and onboarding, which typically would otherwise be manual. And all the while, BSA officers really love us because they don't have to fight with bankers anymore because they get to check all the boxes from a compliance and BSA standpoint. Now, in today's demo, we're going to be demoing online account opening for a business at a fictitious bank called Nomad Bank. Joe here will be wearing 3 hats in the demo. The first role will be Joe, the COO, opening up a business account. The second role will be the shareholder of the business. Now, the reason we're doing the shareholder is that it's pretty seldom that a complex account would only have one person opening up, and we want to be able to demonstrate that flexibility of multiple people contributing. And then finally, we're going to talk to Joe the banker to pop the hood and show you what's happening behind the scenes. Now, sadly, last week, Joe broke his arm, and so as a result, we've actually pre-filled all the forms, really to save you and him the agony of having to go through a one-armed typing. Okay, let's get started. So what we're going to see over here is Joe, the COO, busy opening up an account online at Nomad Bank. What he's going to do is start filling out his basic information. Now, it's important to understand that this flow is going to be totally unique depending on the products that are being opened, the nature of the entity that's actually doing the opening. And so what we've done here is built, you might call it like a Google Forms that's bank grade, where you can customize all the different forms, the sequences, the checks that happen on these forms as the client's going through this. Now, in this case over here, what Joe's going to fill out at the bottom next to the shareholder is going to say, I don't actually have all the documents. I'm going to nominate this main shareholder to actually upload the documents in this case. This is critical because often you have multiple people collaborating on these accounts. So now that Joe, the COO, has uploaded all the information, let's go over and see what we do now for the owner of the company who's going to have their identity verified and who's going to upload the corporate documentation for the account. Okay, so now an email's been sent to the owner of the company, and they can now follow a process to go through identity and verification. We've partnered with a company here called Cognito to offer us global identity verification, and this is really helpful. What happens now is the individual can put in their information, and we've created what they call a lightning flow. This means that if all the information that they've input can be verified by third-party data sources, you can choose not to even request physical documentation. Of course, you can opt in high-risk cases to actually do that, but we can really create really fast onboarding flows here. Now remember, this is a related party now. We're talking about a complex account, and so they can now go through any kind of workflow that you can really choose or wish to design. So what's going to happen now is that once Joe's identity gets verified, he will be prompted to be able to upload documents. Now, these are going to be documents that are totally specific to the actual account. This is important, right? So we've predefined all these workflows. When Joe uploads these documents over here, what he's going to do is he's going to first start by uploading a business license. Now, Joe, unfortunately, is going to make a mistake, and he's going to upload a business license that's actually expired. You'll notice he's doing this on his phone now. This is really important. So what's going to happen now is the document actually goes through a 3-stage document validation process. The first stage is that it goes through qualitative checks. In other words, is the document in fact the document we're expecting? Is it valid? Is it in date? The next stage is data extraction, and the final stage is comparison, so we can compare all the information that we've received. I want to pause and just focus on this for a second. In the status quo, if a client at 7 p.m. uploads information through, they're going to be doing this via email, and they're going to have to wait till the next day for someone at the bank or the credit union or the fintech to review it. This way, they're getting that feedback right away, right then and there. They even also received an email to tell them to resubmit their document. So if you think about how compelling this is for both the client experience in that they can do this at 8 p.m. at night and get feedback straight away with documentation, and I mean any document, but it's additionally compelling for the bankers themselves, because on the bank side of things, the bankers are saving huge amounts of time. So what I want to do now is, now that all the information is uploaded, let's switch over to DocFox, and let's show you what happens behind the scenes. Now, we showed you an automated flow, which is great for fintechs, but when it comes to actual bankers, what you'll notice over here is that they might want, the more traditional bankers might not want to do a fully automated flow, right? They would want really a more omni-channel experience that can move between branch, online if maybe they don't have their documentation, working in a kind of private banker space, and so we can craft these journeys. We don't have enough time to go into all the modules, but let's go into a complex entity here. So the jetting room, you'll notice, has a whole bunch of modules on the left, which I'd encourage you to come back later and we can show you them. But if we go to related parties, we can get a sense of the complexity of an entity that can be handled on DocFox. Here we see all the different shareholders, and we can drill down even to ultimate beneficial owner over here. Really helpful in terms of automating and streamlining our due diligence. Now, I want you to take away one thing from this, which is that business and corporate entities are usually really complex, incredibly manual. The good news is that it doesn't have to be. And I'd encourage you to come past our booth, come talk to us, and we'd love to engage to talk about how. Now, for the folks that drifted off in the beginning in meditation because you weren't interested in business account opening, now's the time that I welcome you to slowly open your eyes and come back into waking reality. Thanks, everyone.